But it's like that's a cool mechanic to just like, what is this nutty mechanic? Design a game around that.
I like to think about, I know I've run into the issue of trying to add feature and feature and feature and feature when I'm learning and just to make it more fun or more enjoyable. And I've realized that you can get really far, especially starting out in game dev, with a singular action like jump, shoot, dodge. So what do you think about this approach if like less is more and if that should be focused on like early on?
Yeah, I mean that's how I was learning all of my game dev was make a little game that does something. Okay, now the next game is going to do that, but I'm going to add one more thing to the game. It's like it's not putting it all in one game, it's putting it into a bunch of little bitty games, which means you're getting better at just the core stuff. There's if you're a programmer, you get better at game architecture, you get better at like how to speed things up. You're getting better at like a lot of things. Like graphics will advance. You'll get better at loading assets. Like you'll arrange your stuff in a different way. You'll get better at just that basic stuff. But then you're also learning new things because you're putting another element into your game that adds more to it, and that's better because you're getting way more experience shipping something, completing stuff. You're getting more experience at like what makes core loops tick. You can play around with progression. You can do all kinds of little things with just a running game. And like when you start the next game, you don't need to like trash the previous game. You can use that as the base and add your new thing. But at least you finish that thing that you made, that game that you made, and let's say, okay, the next one is the sequel. What's going to be added to the sequel? And so usually it's not like a little bitty thing. If you make a sequel, you're going to add a whole system or something into the game because that's way more exciting to add a whole system. Like if you ever played the game Minute, um, it's a really cool indie game where you will die in 1 minute.
Okay.
And what you learn within that 1 minute just by playing the game, you'll use that information to continue going probably in a completely different direction as soon as you spawn again. And you solve the game after all of these minutes that you're dying and learning information. And it's really cool. It's almost like the game 12 Minutes, which is another indie game where like you have to solve this murder kind of thing in 12 minutes or cops get you. And so you have to hurry up and do it. And it's really, really cool. But it's like that's a cool mechanic to just like, what is this nutty mechanic? Design a game around that. It's enough to just try to do that. It is a very non-standard, but that's the way that indies think. You're thinking, how do I make something that people haven't seen before? And that subverts the typical way that games are played, you know? Um, so yeah, so it's always great thinking outside the box like that and experimenting with those things. Like my daughter, she's out here, she's programming. She's making a game which is it's a game that you're creating a game inside of it. So the game is that you have a desktop, you run your IDE, and now you're like making a game. You're doing the graphics and all sounds and stuff, and she's programming all that stuff. But it's a horror game, and the whole thing turns into a horror situation while you're making the game. And it's like that's a lot of work to
Hmm.
do meta type thing, but it is very guided. You can't just like do whatever you want. You want to be guided through each of the phases. Um, but it's like, oh, I get an idea of what it's like to do some game dev, and then horror.
Yeah, then the tables are turned quickly. Yeah,
Yeah, things happen.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, and that's different. That's
Hmm.
another way of making stuff, which is, you know, a little bit non-standard. It's like people don't expect that. Like there's a game called T100, I think, which is a game about assembly language programming your way out of the game. The programming
Yeah,
game, and
yeah.
you're programming an assembly to like code your way out of the game.